Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Hey everybody, it's Happy St. Patrick's Day. Today is Monday, March 17th, and I'm going to start out basically where I left off with all the crazy symptoms I had with the Meniere's disease. And yeah, so I was talking about how I had to go to the doctor, and let me just show you that this all here is basically all my workup for all my doctors that I went to. I've never ever had a health issue in my entire life until last year. So I was going crazy trying to figure out what was wrong with me, what was causing these crazy symptoms. So I first thing I did was I went to the doctor and had blood work drawn. Let me just see if I can find that in here. So the first blood work that I had drawn was on July 22nd. I remember going to the doctor, this was after I felt like I was going to faint with, or my arms felt like pins and needle after I was doing the workout at home with the caffeine and everything. So I went there and they basically did everything. The chem screen, the glucose came back okay, the electrolytes came back okay, kidney functions were okay, iron was okay, several enzymes mildly elevated for liver function, okay. Complete blood count was okay, so there were the white blood cells and the hemoglobin and the platelets and all that actually came back normal. So I was happy about that. At the time, my total cholesterol was actually high. It was at 251 when it's supposed to be at 200. My good cholesterol was supposed to be over 45, and it was under 45. It was actually at 42. My bad cholesterol was supposed to be lower than 130, and it was at 178. My triglycerides were a little high. It was supposed to be less than 150, and it ended up being 155. My thyroid function tests were actually okay. So, they said, please come in to discuss. So after that, after I got all that, I came in to discuss because I said, maybe my cholesterol is bad. So what ended up happening was I made the appointment to discuss my cholesterol because that's what I figured it was. Then at the time, I said, well, let me keep bringing in the Cheerios. The Cheerios will help out, and they'll help out with my cholesterol, which, by the way, actually returned to somewhat normal numbers from the last time around. Let me just see if I can find those numbers that I had. But I remember it was pretty normal. Yeah, at the last test I had, my good cholesterol was actually at 44, so it was right on the borderline of being, being there. My bad cholesterol was actually at 121, and I needed to be less than 130, which was great. And my total cholesterol was actually at 185, and it needed to be less than 200. So that was the last blood test that I had, which was great. So I made the appointment. I remember I was still going to physical therapy at the time, and I was doing research online. What does good for cholesterol? Let me see. So of course I'm reading about it and saying, oh, I can drink wine. Wine's good for cholesterol. So of course, what do? I drink wine. I love wine. So it's one of the things that they said to stay away from with Meniere's disease. So and I didn't know that at the time. Again, I didn't have the ringing in the ears, and yeah, so I remember going out with my friends Chris and Carmen and went to a restaurant, and I said, yeah, I have all the all this crazy stuff going on, and he said my cholesterol's bad, so I can drink wine, and of course I was in Clarendon at the same time drinking wine, so after 3 or 4 glasses of wine I was feeling it. I went home and pretty much passed out early, about 10 o'clock for the rest of the night. So drink too much and you have a Clarendon, and it starts affecting your head a little bit. Still, even at that point, I didn't have any problems with the ringing in my ears or nothing like I do now. Speaking of which, I'll get to that in a minute. But speaking of which, I actually might have been onto something, with the dentist that I went to today. So we'll see. I'll get into that later on here. So I continued on. I made the appointment, and I told him everything that was going on. And it was a new doctor, and all she was doing was just typing in a computer or whatever. And I'm like, all right. So she was looking things up. I was giving her my symptoms, and she said, it sounds like you're having a panic attack. It doesn't sound like it's anything related to cholesterol. It sounds like you're having a panic attack. So here you go. Take some Xanax. When you feel like that, just take the Xanax. And tell me how you feel afterwards. I looked at her and I go, I've never felt like this before. I don't really have anxiety. I mean, maybe a little bit at work, because work is stressful, but it was just so weird. Like, it was just, I'm working out, just regular workout, and I feel like I'm going to faint. So, they really didn't have any clue. She drew more blood at that point, and that was that. So, after they drew more blood, they actually called me a couple days later, and they said, oh, there was a mix-up in the lab, and we need you to come back in to get more blood work because we thought we might have found something in your blood. Went back, had more blood work drawn. I'll get into that later at some point. But, yeah, so, and that's pretty much that with the doctors. Well, that's not the whole thing. I kept going back, and there's a lot to discuss with that, which I'll get into later videos and everything, and how a lot of symptoms came about. But as I was saying before, I was still having those crazy symptoms, and still have them today. I went to the dentist today, and the dentist actually was the new dentist was looking at some of my dental work that I was having done, and like I said, I had the 2 crowns placed over here, one in the back where the tooth actually chipped around a filling, and he put a crown on top of that, and then another one where I had the root canal later on, and I had a crown put on that. And this new dentist, he's actually a holistic dentist. I actually like him. I like him very, very well. He was looking at it, and he said, wow. He said, well, you have some weakness on your right side over here, I can tell. And on top of that, you had some weakness, down here with basically wisdom teeth that I had pulled out. So he asked me, he goes, what kind of symptoms have you been having? I told him, and he said, huh. So he brought a book back, and everything that came back in the book was pretty much everything I had, which, basically what he was saying to me was that there was some sort of imbalance with the way the teeth were cut and the structure of the crowns on this side and the removal of the wisdom teeth, and it's causing me some weird imbalances, and how I'm afraid of heights now all of a sudden, and how I can't sit down without feeling like I'm swaying like this, even though I'm perfectly straight to everybody. How I'm having weakness in the back and the neck. He says it's all related to your teeth. He said everything's related to your teeth right then and there. So that's where it starts, and it goes all out through all these organs in your body and all these different bones in your body. Very interesting. He's giving me some options. He basically gave me 3. One of them was I think he's going to have me wear some sort of retainer or something to start out, which will possibly correct it, but not 100% sure if he'll correct it or not. He said the one thing that will correct it, of course, is getting the crowns removed and putting, crowns that are fitted perfectly on me and that aren't gold crowns. They're regular porcelain crowns. And from there, I should be able to, get back to normal. Funny enough, the thing that he was saying about, about the wisdom tooth is he says it causes Meniere's disease. If something went bad with the wisdom tooth removal, it causes Meniere's disease. So I told him, look, I haven't been having any symptoms until about last July after I had the dental work done. And so he looked, he took some impressions and everything, and he's looking over here. I said last video I went to Boston. I want to update you guys on that. I actually had a really good time with my friends, which is cool. I still had some issues, especially with heights. We stayed at the Hyatt Regency in Cambridge, and I was very worried about this because I was afraid, I think there was 15, 16 floors. I was afraid that we were going to be all the way on the top, and the elevator, the way it was structured, it was a clear elevator that we can look at, and as further we go up, obviously the more you're looking down. As soon as I saw that, I looked up and I go, whoa, I don't know if I want to stay that high. There's no way. Thankfully, we only stayed on the 4th floor, so that actually helped out a little bit, but still had some struggles with some heights, struggled with the escalator as well, towards the end of the trip. We went to one bar late at night, and I was going up the escalator, and I had to hold on for dear life because I felt like I was going to just fall backwards, just literally fall backwards off the escalator, and I've never had that before in my life. Same thing happened again, too, at the barbershop last week. I went to the barbershop on Thursday. It's my favorite barber. I've never had any issues, and I'm sitting there, and as he's, going to cut my hair, I'm actually feeling like, holy cow, I'm just going to fall forward. And then all of a sudden, I almost felt like I was going to thrash around in a chair, and like I was going to blank out. I didn't say anything to him. It seemed like, to him, I probably seemed like I was fine. So he actually looked at, just cut my hair. Within 15 minutes, I was on my way. Of course, whatever it is, I'm better when I'm standing up. I'm better when I'm, basically moving around. Driving, I'm still okay. Basically, I drove the whole way to Boston, and I drove all the way back. So, I don't know. We went to a whole bunch of different bars and everything. Whole bunch of different places. I've been playing hockey, and that's been very successful as well. So we'll take it from there and see what happens. So I'm going to see what happens with this dental work, and it's going to be in about a month or so that I'm going to start considering my options and how to go about them and what to get done. On top of that, I'm going to go get my Atlas checked, actually 100% checked. Not going back to the same chiropractor I've been going to. I'm actually going to get it checked at a different chiropractor. He's going to do an x-ray, he's going to measure everything, see if everything's aligned perfectly, and possibly have me come back. Maybe it's causing something, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm done with the other one, the last chiropractor. I think he actually messed me up even more. I think what ended up happening was he just was treating me for a vertigo issue that he had. And, I wasn't really having vertigo. I'm just having something weird going on in my head, and probably related to the teeth now. That's what I'm thinking. So, and I've been noticing, after I've been playing hockey, I've been going to the chiropractor the day before, and then I go play hockey the next night, and then that night after hockey, I go lie down in my bed, and I'd be getting muscle spasms over here. Never had muscle spasms before after hockey, so the other night, I had a hockey game last night. The other night, obviously, on the day I didn't go to the chiropractor. Came home, I had no muscle spasms at all. So that's just telling me that he wasn't treating me the way he should have been. I'm sure he cares a lot for his patients, so I'm sure he didn't mean to do anything. So, we'll see what happens. And until then, I'll update you guys more about the issues that I started having with the heights, which was pretty crazy last one, and that's why my dentist believes it's something with my teeth, because teeth can mess you up when it comes to heights. The wrong thing just throws an imbalance in your head, in your ears, whatever. It can really mess you up. So we'll see what happens. So until then, I'll see you guys next Monday.